What is up, friends and motorcycle enthusiasts? This accelerates here once again. As many of you may notice, I have my HD audio working. Close my vents in my helmet, make it a little quieter. So my video setup is a Sena with the Sena 10U and a Sena Prism video action camera. So, you know, one of the reasons I chose the Sena was because it did the audio in HD and the Bluetooth, and there's no wires and all that fancy jazz. And then, of course, my first video, I noticed that the audio sounded like total crap. You noticed too, for sure. So, turns out I had, in my troubleshooting, I had the Sena headset. My 10U was paired as a smartphone, not a headset. So that did not allow the UHD audio to come through. I do plan to do more videos, of course, on my recording gear and my headset and all that, but this video is going to be specifically the reason why I'm riding when it's 45 degrees outside. So this video will be about my winter gear, or my, I guess you could say, my fourth season gear, right? My fourth season gear. So, the reason why I got the gear that I did, and it hadn't been that long since I've had this gear, was because I work a lot, and sometimes I'm able to ride, and sometimes I'm not able to ride. So, because of that, I want to get as much riding in as possible. And many of us know that when summer comes, it can get hot, but still that's, you know, beautiful days, it's time to ride. And when spring finally comes from a winter, that's when people get out and ride. And then of course as fall comes, it's nice, but we also hate to see winter come because we can no longer ride. So a lot of folks that commute on their motorcycles or live in the South or things like that can ride year round. You know, if they live in a place where it's warm and it's easy, but other folks don't. Okay, so I live on the East Coast, you know, about central, you know, kind of the South, but it still gets cold here in the winter months. So, you know, I said to myself after I got back into riding motorcycles, it was time to get some gear because I'm losing out on my seasons. You know, I'm losing out on the ability to ride when it's nice outside, like today. I mean, look at that blue sky, right? Beautiful. So it's a nice day, but it's also cold. It's about 45 degrees out right now. So I'm going to run down some of the gear that I purchased for these cold days, and I'll talk about some specific testing. Now I will put a link in the description for all the gear. And I purchased a lot of my gear at places like Revzilla, like most of you, you know, fantastic place to order from. You know, their return policy is great, their shipping's free, all the good things that they do that we know about, right? So the number one thing that I can start at, I'll just start head to toe. Now, I'm not going to go too in depth about, of course, my recording equipment or anything like that, but I will start with my helmet. You know, it's not necessarily a winter thing, of course, but some helmets have better features for winter riding than others. Things like the chin guard, I think it's called a girdle or a windshield, a chin windshield, I believe it is, or whatever the case may be, that does help keep the cold air off of, you know, the upper part of your neck or your face. But my helmet is a Shoei GT Air in solid white, right? So we can see GT Air in solid white, and I I love this helmet. You know, I wanted to, whenever I got my FC09, I decided to get a new helmet, and I scoured the internet. One of the reasons I purchased the GT Air was the fact that they said it flowed a lot of air in the summertime, which I thought would be great. And also, it's a Shoei, of course. But another reason is that the Cena makes the 10U, which is made specifically for this helmet, the Cena headset. So I don't have, my Cena is not on the outside of my headset, or I'm sorry, on the outside of my helmet in any way. It's completely enclosed inside of my helmet, and I control the helmet with a remote control. Ironically, I forgot to bring it with me, but that's okay because I'm not really doing anything but recording. So my helmet is a Shoei GT Air, solid white, which I like. I would have gotten the high vis. I'm on a high vis kick as of late, but you know, no worries. White's the next best thing in my opinion. So the next thing, I'm gonna back off this guy a little bit. The next thing is, from head down, is my neck. So my neck stays warm with an Alpine Stars neck warmer. It's not windproof, so it does work in colder weather, cooler weather. I've ridden in the 40s, low 40s, and in the high 30s. It's fine up to that. It is a quality neck warmer. It's cheap. I want to say it's like 15 to 20 bucks. But nonetheless, it does get, because it's not windproof, whenever you get down in the 20s, which I have ridden in, I think it was 23 degrees was the coldest that I rode in this season. It didn't cut it. You know, the wind went straight through it. But, you know, if nobody, I'm not big on, I rode that night when it was that cold. You know, that's not common. So, but the Alpine Stars, some people call it a balaclava, or whatever the case may be. It's essentially a neck warmer, right? So, great piece, inexpensive, works perfect, right? And I just put it up around my nose, and then I bite it, and then slide my helmet on. So it works perfect to get, you know, to stay tight around, and of course I tuck it down the collar. So working my way down, the next thing is my suit. This was a Christmas present from my wonderful wife, and you know, this is really the staple of wanting to get some cold weather riding gear. I am using the Joe Rocket Survivor suit. And this, as you can see, obviously it's in high vis, right? So they make this in two different versions, a black and gray, and then I believe it's a gray and gray-black combo in high visibility. So some things about this suit, you know, you guys can, I mean, if you go to Revzilla, you'll see them talk about the features. It's a, you know, removable liner, full weather suit. You know, it's got vents. It's got the chest vent that opens up. You know, overall, I mean, you can read about the suit, but, you know, as far as my opinion goes, fantastic. This thing was, I had ended up getting a 2XL. I ordered an XL, and it was just a little bit tight around my armpits. Everything else was fine, but around my back. So I'm not a huge guy, but I do work out, so my torso's kind of wide and thick. So I have problems with, you know, this is a one-piece suit, of course. So, you know, Joe Rocket's doing the best they can to make, you know, a suit that fits. It's tailored essentially for every body type that's out there, and everybody's different. So right now I'm about 215. I'm 6'1". I have about a 46-inch chest. So the XL was just a little snug. No, I said no problem. You know, Revzilla is awesome. So I went to return it and to get a 2XL, only to find out that the black suits, Joe Rocket's no longer making the black in the 2XL. You know, they only made them in high vis. And ironically, that was around the same time that I was getting into more high vis gear, and I said, you know what, no problemo. I'll go ahead and get the high vis. Now I'm going to make another video on high vis. I know there's a lot of videos out there, but I do plan to do that. So, you know, I got the high vis version of the Joe Rocket Survivor suit, and no worries, right? So as far as how the suit functions for me, I love it. This is fantastic. Now, obviously, I'm using the liner. The warmth liner that's in it is in it currently because it's 45 degrees outside. And I'm 100% comfortable. This suit is fantastic. It's plenty long in the legs, as you know, as we ride, especially you sport bike guys. You know, your rear sets are higher, so as your legs come up. So if you have pants of any kind that aren't made long, or made to form for your leg in that fashion, similar to the way leathers are, then you know it's a little. Then you know your suit, your pants rides up. You get the highway, the Steve Urkels, right, while you're riding. So the suit's made a little longer in the legs, which is great. And then tons of ratcheting adjustment straps and things of that sort all throughout the suit. So I really like it. I really do. I have yet to try it in any kind of warmer weather. I looked at snowmobile suits, and the First Gear also has a fantastic suit. One of the reasons that I bought this instead of the First Gear cold weather suit, which also gets a lot of really good reviews. And the thing about the First Gear suit is it's cheaper. So this Joe Rocca suit was about $370, I want to say. And the First Gear suit's about $200. But this suit actually has armor built into it. So it's elbow, shoulder, back pad, and knee, adjustable knees. So, and of course you can swap that out. It's foam armor. You can swap it out with CE approved armor, especially the back. A lot of jackets don't come with the back piece. So, the hardened back piece. So, overall, I'm extremely pleased with the Joe Rocket Survivor suit. And the suit's been around for quite a while. And I think Joe Rocket may be considering revamping it or something of that nature, because they've backed off the larger sizes. They're starting to offer less stuff. But who knows? If they do revamp it, hopefully they replace it with something equal or better, because this is a great suit. Okay? So next we'll have gloves, right? The essential for any cold weather rider is gloves. I'm using the Fly Aurora gloves. So these guys, I want to say, were about $60, and also fantastic. My hands are warm. I'm not cold in any way. Now these, obviously, any kind of glove that isn't heated does have its limit, right? Because our hands get the wind blast that that we experience. Your hands are right up front, so they get the brunt of the cold weather. And so gloves in themselves, and gloves are tough because you want tactility with your gloves, but also you want to be warm. So that's where the heated stuff does have an advantage. I looked at heated gloves, and I may get heated gloves later, but we'll see. But the Fly Auroras I've had no problem with whatsoever. I've ridden in right now, again, 45 degrees. It's probably fluctuating a little bit, maybe even between 40 and 45 out. My hands are completely warm. The tactility of these gloves is still pretty good. They are touch sensitive. They do work with my cell phone. The haptic feedback that the cell phone screen gives. So they do work in that environment. So great gloves overall. I have no quarrel whatsoever with these gloves. So a good, definitely a budget option compared to the $150 First Gear heated gloves that you'll find out there, or whatever the case may be. So last but not least, this isn't exactly a winter specific, but since I'm on my gear, I'll go with my boots. My shoes / boot that I use, I only have one set of riding boots currently. I do plan to get more gear as things change, but these shoes / boots are really a do-it-all for street riding and as well as wearing. They are the Bates Adrenaline. That's it, the Bates Adrenaline shoe. So it's a great boot that actually has shoestrings, which some people don't like. I don't mind it because you can tuck the strings away in the chute itself. So very cool. Oh, there's a neat road down there. Very cool. They work great. They're comfortable. They're waterproof. They keep my, right now if I was in tennis shoes, my feet would be cold, guaranteed. But they're not. In my Bates Adrenaline boots, they're definitely not cold. No problems whatsoever. What I like about them is they're comfortable. I can wear these to work, and I can wear them at work. They look nice. They're the black leather. They look like a riding boot, but they also they're not big and hard shell. They're not crazy, but they do offer protection around the ankle, which is what I wanted and what I needed. So that's pretty much it for my gear, and that's the gist of it. So what we talked about for the most part was why I got winter gear. I went down through the gear that I own, and like I mentioned, I will have a link in the description for you guys to check the gear out. And if you have any questions about the gear, feel free to ask. It was a quick overview, but a lot of people go more in depth, specifically with Revzilla, obviously being a vendor. They're fantastic about going in depth in each one of the items. So I thank you for tuning in, and until next time, this is Accelerate signing out.